I know what Mr. Bennett is probably trying to say. He is probably trying to imply that those who support President Trump are the criminals. However, I see something very different in this. I see that the only way to make America great again is to arrest criminals. When you lie before Congress, make fake dossiers, burn down buildings, threaten a sitting president, or cheer on killers, you need to be held accountable. If they are in prison or on death row, they cannot impede the work of patriotic Americans. Is there any evidence of autocracy? Is there any evidence at all? I used to think that Democrats just threw that word out, hoping that it would stick. However, it seems more and more obvious that the end game is not just shaming. The end game is to get their more radical supporters to try and take out anyone who does not go along with Democrat talking points. This has already happened multiple times. And if you do not believe that it will happen again, you are probably the same person who would be cheering on the killers. What does choosing a specific language have to do with law enforcement? If she entered the country legally, she has nothing to be concerned about. No one has the right to move into America. Have you ever seen Mexico's southern border wall? They do not want anyone from those countries moving up north without authorization. Furthermore, every civilized country in the world has borders. After all, we are still paying for Ukraine to protect its borders. But America is the only country that is not allowed to have national sovereignty. I am not going to break this one down panel by panel, as it all comes down to a basic misunderstanding by liberals. They believe that conservatives only want to protect the rich. They are ignorant, of course, that the rich people on their side of the aisle protect themselves as well. And I, for one, think that we need to get rid of all loopholes. No one should get any special treatment. That and the wealthy pay the vast majority of taxes, even with all of the loopholes. So I will break it down a bit and reduce it to only the panels that have truth. Yeah, there's not much left. Now, what Mr. Davies is trying to do is really quite simple. He is trying to say that President Trump is targeting everyone in one way or another. However, that is not the case. Only the cities that are cesspools of crime and decay, or those that are allowing the illegals to run rampant, are in President Trump's crosshairs. So enforce the law with illegals, or he will do it for you. When it comes to farmers, retaliatory tariffs means that the other countries lower their tariffs. With lower tariffs abroad, farmers here can sell to more people. Selling to more people means more income. So tell me, how is either community hurt by President Trump? Here we have Mr. Jones taking completely unrelated things to ignore the key issue. All this would be solved if Chuck Schumer and the rest of his ilk would publicly state that they are for Americans first. Then they agree to not give freebies to people who broke into this country. That is really simple. Schumer's shutdown is all on him, and the only ones lying are the Democrats. So many problems with this one. However, they all come down to how liberals define terms and how conservatives define the same terms. Liberals define a citizen as any person living within the borders of the United States. Conservatives define a citizen as any person legally living within the borders of the United States. There is a legal process for entry and a legal process by which people can become citizens. If we are to further this anthropomorphosis of Lady Liberty, she was brought in legally. Therefore, she would not be deported. I guess since the fake news is still up in arms over this, it is still relevant enough to talk about. I have been in leadership roles a few times in my life. Each time I did not get respect if I barked orders. I got respect if I worked with my team and was willing to do what I asked of them. Therefore, I think that it is reasonable that the top brass have to pass a physical fitness test biannually as well. That seems reasonable. I am sure that Hegseth has seen more of these generals and officers than some political cartoonist. I know that Mr. Roll is talking about President Trump, but that just does not make sense. What law has President Trump passed to make certain people worthy of being blown up by a missile? Can you even name me one? Now, recall that President Obama staunchly defended his right to use drones, even on American civilians. So maybe Mr. Roll just posted this cartoon a little late. Okay, there are two sides to this coin. On one side, it is illegal for President Trump to send in the National Guard, except maybe to protect law enforcement. On the other side, comparing this to Tiananmen Square is an insult to those who went through that. However, this is the same city that let itself be taken over by terrorists. I, for one, say that President Trump should just let these cities burn. If they do not want help, they can just fall. Well, let us start with the claim about zip ties. This was not done by an ICE agent. This was a dad who was playing make-believe with his child and used a zip tie rather than handcuffs. As a result of the game of telephone, the story has changed since the initial events. As for the other claims, ICE is dealing with gangs and cartels, two groups that are known to use violence without restraint, and thus, ICE needs to be ready to combat both.